The business, I've owned the business now for 17 years. I worked here a couple times for Pat. I worked for her before the filming, and then I actually worked for a bookstore chain down the street here, where they actually bought the diary for Laura Palmer's diary from me. Interesting, yeah. So, and then I came back and worked for a little bit for her, and I was here for some of the filming of the Firewalk with me. Well, a lot of things came into play. I'd always liked the restaurant, probably like everybody else does. I like the life and the old 50s look to it, and I always thought if I was ever going to have a restaurant, I'd want to do a thing like that. I've been in the restaurant industry for a long time, so one day I stopped her on the corner and said, "Hey, do you want to sell me the restaurant?" Because I'd worked for her before, and she said, "You call me tonight." She was a little upset, and rightly, she wanted to get rid of it, so made her an offer and went from that, and then I moved into it. It was a pretty old restaurant. As far as restaurants go, it was built in 1940, and nobody had really done any upkeep to it. Yeah, it was the walls were tobacco brown, and the ceiling was tobacco brown. 7 layers of rug, and it was kind of dark and campy, and we tried to clean it up as best we could, but that was also why I think David Lynch picked it, because it was dark. It's not somebody that's said, "Hey, let's make a 50s diner look 50s."
Yeah.
This is a 40s diner that's
It's even better. It's even better.
Yeah, we had a fire, so we had only owned it for, it was our 3rd year. We'd actually started to make money on it, and we had a fire. It was an arson fire. It wasn't really anything to do with anything particular. It was just some kids, evidently they said later on, who had come in here and were messing around. They drank some wine coolers and thought they would get in trouble, so they decided to light the place on fire. It took them a couple times, but they managed to light it on fire. So it was kind of devastating for us. At first it was just like, oh, there goes everything we worked for. And, even though the building was old and pretty decrepit. So, but it turns out that we had the ability to invest the insurance money back into it, bring it back. People that owned the building itself, they wanted to go ahead and invest the money into it, because at the time their dad had actually, they were my landlords, their dad had actually been part of the builders of the building. So we got together and put it back together, but they wanted to put it back together differently. They didn't want to put it back together the orange and brown, and because locally it was the Martí, even though it was R&R locally, people knew it locally, and they wanted to change the local persona of it, so that's kind of why we had to do what we did. As far as the color scheme kind of changed, and we cleaned it up, and it was sad, but then again we got a brand new restaurant. Well, it's more I think, more fan-based. The fans really changed it up a little bit for me. So I know that, when it first came out, there were a lot of fans, and they were international and had a lot of people coming in. But by the time I had gotten it, there wasn't anybody coming in from Twin Peaks. It kind of waned. There's still a lot of peakers out there, but it wasn't really being driven into here. And you have to get a business. You have to have people come in within a 10-mile radius of a restaurant in order to keep it up and running. And so I had to really start concentrating more on just local people. So that's really what I did. After the fire, we really wanted to build it up locally and try to get people in here so we could survive. But one day, this little gal shows up, and she was from Germany, and she had flown all the way from Germany. She was 19 years old. She had flown all the way from Germany. She flew into New York. From New York, she flew into Seattle. And then from Seattle, she got in a taxi and she came here.
Wow.
That was, she hadn't got a hotel, she hadn't got anything. She had to get here. And at that point, I realized, well, there's some fans out there that really are into this a lot more than I had imagined. So we decided to put as much as we could into it and keep it going. And of course, cherry pie, that was kind of a challenge, so I made the best damn cherry pie. The original there's a bunch of different original recipes. It's taken a while, 17 years. We've had the local people come in, and more have come in, but we're also off the freeway, so we've had more and more people. A lot of my customers are like once or twice a year. You say you come in, a lot of my customers are that. They stop here on the way across the mountains every time they cross the mountains, or they stop, and the food's really good, and word over the years has really gotten around, so that on the weekends we got people that are just, people standing at the door coming in, and that's for the food. But every time Twin Peaks is shown somewhere, whether it's overseas or where it is, we'll start seeing an influx of people. You know, we see a lot of gals from, a lot of stewardesses from Sweden that will come in here. It's kind of from SeaTac, but because it was playing, it was popular there for a while, they've been coming in here. And so that's one thing that we see. And now that the filming is about to go up, we're seeing more and more people coming in to take a look and see what it looks like. So.
2 years ago, I asked you if tomorrow David Lynch walks by the door and tell you we want to bring back Twin Peaks and we want to shoot here, we would like to remodel it to match the original TV show, what would you say? And I remember that you said as long as they paid for it, they can do anything they want. And it looks like they did.
Looks like it might happen.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we'll see. We haven't got any official word yet, but that's kind of what we're hearing. And like I said, if that's what they want to do, I told them we'll leave it that way. It's enough of a drive. There's enough of a fan base for the Peakies that they rival the Trekkies. I mean, the Trekkies have forever been the big, but Peakies are out there, and there's a lot of them, and they're such a variety group of people. You can't just pin them down and say it's this type of person or these type of people. They can be older people that just love the way that the scenery was, and they can be goth people. They love the weird campiness, and so it's amazing how many different people. But it's bigger than me, bigger than the restaurant. So you know,
of course.
No, I've talked to. They actually, David Lynch came out here at Christmas time and took a look at some of the sites. He wanted to look at some of the stuff, see what he might want to do. I know that most of the scripts supposedly were written before that, but he had some ideas. So he came and expressed his desire to come and film. Then we heard that he wasn't going to do it anymore. Then about a month ago, he came back in, and now it's not just 9 episodes. At that point, maybe he got enough money to be able to do what he wants. We've talked to the location scout that came with him. You know, we've been in contact with them a couple of times this year. So nothing formal. It's just some intent, and we'd like to do it. So I was really surprised at hearing what they had to say. So we'll see what happens. I told him to make sure, you know, if he's going to come in here and change it, make sure it's permanent. You know, facades and Hollywood-y stuff.
Of course.
Let's make it real so that it stays there. Kind of a legacy to the show. So the show is going to be 25 years afterwards. So there's going to be a lot of play as to what's going to happen. He's going to have to change it somewhat. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. You know, it could be maybe the same colors. Is it falling apart? Is it, you know, what's his intent? You know, what's it going to look like? So I'm kind of interested. Is there going to be a jukebox? You know, jukeboxes are gone now. You know, it's interesting to think about the possibilities. It looks like a young cast as well as some of the older ones. So, you know, I don't know how he's going to weave it. So if I had a choice, of course, I'd like to have it the old way. It was really cool. Some of the gas, he's got propane gas lamps around the side of it. When the power would go out, we'd be one of the only restaurants around because everything was propane. So it was kind of a cool old restaurant at the time. So it'd be interesting to see if you could bring it back that way. Somebody's going to have to facilitate the facilities. That probably end up being me. Most of my employees probably get a vacation. And I don't know, maybe they'll say, hey, you know, why don't you fix this breakfast, lunch, and dinner while we're here? Kitchen's back there, we're here anyway, so who knows?
That will be great. Thank you very much for your time.
All right.